Hello, everyone. This is the fourth in a series of review videos for the final exam for our class. In this video, I'll be looking at Don Marquis' Why Abortion Is Immoral. Again, we're just as in looking at Thompson, we're thinking about a final exam in which you'll be applying general ideas, and moral approaches to an ethical analysis of a fictional scenario. It is easier to fit that into what's going on in Kant and John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism and Kantianism, because there you have more straightforward, well, here's the theory those two authors are concerned to give. Here's the moral theory. Go ahead and apply it in practice. Whereas, obviously, with Marquis, Thompson, they're already tackling a practical issue, a specific issue. But just as in Thompson, where we saw, I think, all along we saw during class that her ideas are not restricted to abortion. She's dealing in general ideas. After all, she has to come up with an argument in defense of abortion. Marquis is coming up with an argument for why he considers abortion to be immoral. So I don't think it's all that crazy to say that we could use his approach and ideas looking at other issues rather than simply restricting it to abortion. Because certainly, okay, if we look at Marquis' argument, and that argument is in section 2, section 1 is him showing why he thinks that the usual way in which the ethics of abortion are discussed is leads to impasse, especially if we are talking about humanity or personhood of the fetus. It's really in section 2 that he offers his main argument for what he considers to be the prima facie immorality of abortion, of course, prima facie. And that is his theory of the wrongness of killing. That's what, after all this, there's no great insight into abortion in this in this essay, right? There really isn't. In a certain respect, it's not even about abortion at all. The big idea here is just that, his theory of the wrongness of killing, which he very quickly applies to the case of abortion, but has much wider implications. His idea is that there is this moral issue about abortion, the ethics of abortion, the morality of abortion, but that we'll never solve it unless we solve a deeper issue, clarify a deeper issue, and that is the wrongness of killing in general. That is, if we regard abortion as a form of killing, then we'll never really get our thoughts straight about it until we have a theory of the wrongness of killing in general. So I think it's quite clear that that theory will have wider application than the issue of abortion. And yes, this is what he says at the very end of section 1, and then section 2 is really laying out that theory. It's the most important part of the essay. And I don't really feel like I need to go over that too much because I've spent a lot of time in class. But that's what I think you need to be focusing on for the final exam, is to really feel like you understand what his theory of the wrongness of killing is, what his actual argument is, and how that really starts with the assumption that killing you is wrong and killing me is wrong. That is, like every argument starts with some form of assumption, some premise, right? And that's the fundamental premise of Marquis' argument, that killing you is wrong, killing me is wrong, and then asking why killing you is wrong and killing me is wrong. That is, we presume that we don't argue for it. We just presume that it's quite obvious that at least we believe that killing you is wrong and killing me is wrong, and then we ask, why? And obviously, he has very strong ideas about that. That's where the theory actually starts, and the notion that it's the effect on you and me that is the wrong-making feature of it. and that effect is the loss of all our future experiences. That is, that what makes killing wrong is that what makes killing you wrong is it's taking away all of your future experiences, depriving you of that future. And what makes killing me wrong is that it's depriving me of my future. So what we can conclude from that is that if we generalize from that it would be wrong to kill anything that has a future like ours. That's the key thing, right? Not that it's wrong to kill in general, but that it is at least prima facie wrong to kill anything that could be said to have a future like ours. This is what follows from the argument, right? This is why we have to start with, okay, we assume it's wrong to kill you and me, and then we ask for the wrong-making feature, and then we generalize, what else has that, what other forms of killing would have that wrong-making feature? It would be at killing anything that has a future like ours. So it's very quickly applied to the issue of abortion when he just makes the claim that, well, of course, a typical fetus has a future like ours, so it would be wrong to kill it. Prima facie, wrong to kill it. I think that one of the things we didn't really focus on in class is actually quite helpful in seeing what his point is. And that is when he says, well, this argument that I've made about the wrongness of killing has a structural similarity with the argument that we should never inflict wanton suffering on an animal. And this is bottom of page 192, 193, right? What appears the best argument for the wrongness of the wanton infliction of pain on animals. This latter argument is based on the assumption that it is prima facie wrong to inflict pain on me or you. What is the natural property associated with the infliction of pain which makes such infliction wrong? That is, we assume that it would be just randomly, wanton infliction of pain on you or me would be wrong. Why? Well, because it causes suffering. So whatever causes suffering, prima facie, is wrong. Well, animals suffer. As he says, the wanton infliction of pain on animals causes suffering. Since causing suffering is what makes the wanton infliction of pain wrong, and since the wanton infliction of pain on animals causes suffering, it follows that the wanton infliction of pain on animals is wrong too. You see how he's saying that that's structurally similar to his argument, where we assume that a certain thing is wrong. As he says here, again, this is very helpful, page 193, the second paragraph. We assume that a certain thing is wrong, and then we say, well, what is the wrong-making feature? And then we see whether that applies, to what sort of being that applies to. In the case of the wanton infliction of pain, that applies also to animals. That is, if it applies to us, it also applies to animals. The structural similarity is if the theory of the wrongness of killing applies to us, then it also applies to fetuses, because the same wrong-making feature would apply there too. So it's actually quite helpful, I think, this second paragraph on page 193, where he lays that out. So I think that when you're preparing for the final exam, thinking about Marquis, what you're thinking about primarily is his theory of the wrongness of killing, the future like ours argument, and the structure of it too. I mean, look at that. You understand why he says that the structure of his argument about the wrongness of killing, as it applies to abortion, is similar to his argument, or an argument for the wrongness of the infliction of wanton pain on animals.